Morning, noon, and night, your stomach twists and demands food exactly on time, like a perfectly programmed clock. It feels completely natural, right? But you are being deceived. For 99.9% of human history, the idea of a guaranteed daily schedule for eating was a complete myth. Your ancestors survived through agonizing weeks of starvation that hollowed out their bones, separated only by massive, rare feasts around a roaring fire. Uncovering these buried truths is exactly why Ape to Legend exists. One ancestral secret every week. Hit subscribe and stay on the journey with us. You simply aren't designed to eat 3 times a day. Your body is a finely tuned survival engine built for brutal, unpredictable famine. Right now, you look at the clock striking noon and your stomach growls. You think you are starving, but you have no idea what real hunger is. That midday craving isn't a biological necessity. It is a manufactured habit, a modern illusion layered over an ancient, desperate survival mechanism. To understand this, we have to look back at how we broke our natural rhythm. The agricultural revolution first tied us to the harvest, but the real trap snapped shut during the Industrial Revolution. We moved from the wild forests into loud, smoke-filled factories that never slept. Factory owners needed machines running constantly. Because factory workers needed scheduled breaks, the strict routine of breakfast, lunch, and dinner was born. Your digestion was literally trained by factory whistles and corporate clocks, forcing an ancient body to obey a rigid, unnatural industrial timeline. Before this modern cage, eating was chaotic, entirely unpredictable, and often violent. Nature did not provide a menu or a convenient schedule. We lived in a world of absolute extremes. Our biology was shaped by the desperate hunt, the bitter cold, and the constant threat of starvation. You would endure days of an empty, aching stomach, walking miles in the freezing wind, hoping for a sudden, massive kill to save your tribe. To see how this built the body you have today, we must strip away the modern world and step onto the prehistoric savannah. Out here, there is no refrigerator, no pantry, and certainly no breakfast at 8 a.m. Your next meal depends entirely on luck and brutal physical effort. You might track a herd for 3 days, your muscles burning, your stomach hollowed out by a gnawing emptiness that simply refuses to let you go. When the hunt fails, and it often does, you don't get a snack break. You simply endure the agonizing starvation as the cold night swallows the savannah. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherers observe this exact pattern. Food is never guaranteed, and severe calorie deficits are a constant, looming daily threat. Your digestive system evolved in this crucible. It learned to shut down non-essential functions, aggressively preserving every single drop of energy just to survive. But then, the miracle happens. The chaotic chase finally ends. Your tribe brings down a massive beast, perhaps a mammoth or giant bison. This is the feast in the feast-or-famine cycle. Suddenly, a mountain of fresh, calorie-dense meat and precious fat lies before you in the dirt. There is no preservation, no freezing it for next month. If you don't consume it immediately, scavengers and rot will steal your salvation. So, your ancestors gorged. They ate until their stomachs stretched to the absolute limit, swallowing thousands of calories in a single frenzied sitting around the fire. Your brain rewarded this extreme binge eating with an explosive surge of dopamine. It felt like absolute euphoria because gorging meant survival. This brutal biological rhythm, starving for days, then devouring massive amounts of fat and protein at once, was the undisputed reality for 300,000 years. In this world, a steady, predictable trickle of food 3 times a day would have seemed like an impossible, alien fantasy. To survive the deep winter, your body had to act like a highly efficient sponge, absorbing and locking away those rare calories at terrifying speed. It wasn't about eating moderately or balancing your diet. It was a desperate biological mandate. Eat everything you can find, right now, or die tomorrow. And that very same biological engine, forged in the freezing wilderness, is the exact one sitting inside your body right this very second. When you look at your waistline and despair over sudden weight gain, you think your body is broken. But science reveals a completely different truth. Your body isn't broken. It's remembering. That stubborn fat you are trying to burn away was once the ultimate biological shield against winter death. During the endless ice age, a winter with a failed hunt meant certain doom. The cold would relentlessly hunt down the thinnest members of the tribe. In 1962, geneticist James Neal proposed a famous explanation for this, known across anthropology textbooks as the Thrifty Gene Hypothesis. Neal argued that our ancestors who survived were those whose genes excelled at storing lipid reserves instantly whenever food appeared. While modern researchers actively debate the exact details of this mechanism, the raw physical evidence left in ancient bones remains completely unshakable. When archaeologists uncover the remains of prehistoric hunter-gatherers, they read a tragic ledger of starvation etched directly into the mineral layers. Anthropologists Mark Cohen and George Armelagos documented these markings as Harris lines, physical growth arrest lines left when a child's body stops growing. Because the winter famine Kauser Rut Gan, the metabolic system withdrew every calorie from skeletal development simply to protect the heart and brain. The children who survived these brutal seasonal cycles were those who could absorb nutrients like a sponge and convert them to fat immediately. No textbook teaches this profound evolutionary honor, but Ape to Legend does, uncovering the brilliant ancestral mechanics locked inside your modern DNA. The core tragedy is the mismatch. Your body is still expecting a starvation winter that will never come. Instead, you are trapped in a world where a mountain of high-calorie food is always just one simple finger tap away on your phone. This infinite abundance completely rin-wrap and overwhelms the ancient metabolic signals, turning your vie di san sin ton into a modern health crisis. But why does your brain actively force you to overeat even when your stomach is completely full? The secret lies in chemical manipulation. To understand this, we must look at dopamine. Popular culture calls it the pleasure chemical, but neuroscientist Wolfram Schultz revealed its true, far more powerful purpose. Dopamine is actually a profound survival mechanism. It is the chemical of intense craving and relentless motivation, designed to keep you hunting. Imagine an ancestor stumbling upon a rare wild beehive. The sheer sight of that golden sugar triggered a massive, explosive chemical cascade in the brain. That dopamine spike did not just make them feel good. It burned a permanent memory into their neural pathways, screaming, "Remember this location forever." And it issued a biological command that you still obey today. Devour absolutely every single drop of it right now, because tomorrow it will be gone. In the brutal prehistoric wild, sugar and dense fat was so incredibly rare that your brain evolved with absolutely no built-in off switch for them. Now, fast forward to today. You are walking down a blindingly bright supermarket aisle, surrounded by thousands of ultra-processed, calorie-dense foods. Modern food scientists have reverse-engineered your Paleolithic brain. They carefully design junk food to hit exactly what is called the bliss point. When you bite into a modern donut, your ancient brain is completely tricked. It genuinely believes you have just found the ultimate survival jackpot. This artificial flood of dopamine is so violently powerful that it easily overrides the mechanical stretching of your stomach, completely drowning out the feeling of being full. Your stomach might be tightly stretched and physically begging you to stop, but the primal chemical reward system continues to mercilessly drive your hand forward. You feel guilty, blaming your own lack of willpower. But you are trying to fight a 300,000-year-old survival instinct using only modern logic. It is an impossible battle. The world around you has mutated at lightning speed, but the biological hardware inside your skull remains perfectly unchanged. The very mechanism that saved your ancestors from freezing to death in the snow is now slowly destroying you in a world of infinite comfort. This is the ultimate evolutionary trap. But the conflict goes even deeper than what you eat. It extends to exactly when you are told to eat. Society commands you to consume food exactly at 8 in the morning, 12 noon, and 7 at night, regardless of your actual physical energy needs. You sit at your office desk, staring at the screen. The clock strikes 12, and suddenly your stomach twists and growls with intense, painful urgency. You feel like you are starving to death. But biologically speaking, you are completely fine. Your body is just experiencing a manufactured chemical habit. Enter the hormone called ghrelin. This is the chemical messenger that tightens your stomach and tells your brain that it is time to find calories. In the prehistoric wilderness, ghrelin spiked only when your energy reserves were critically depleted, pushing you to hunt and survive another freezing, brutal day. Today, your ghrelin spikes simply because the clock hands align. It has been artificially trained to anticipate a meal, exactly like a perfectly conditioned dog. If you accidentally skip this scheduled lunch, the consequences feel devastating. Your hands tremble, your focus shatters, and a wave of intense anger washes over you. We call this modern feeling being hangry. You frantically reach for a sugary snack, genuinely believing that your internal battery has run completely dry. But this is the ultimate evolutionary illusion. Scientifically, your body is carrying an absolute mountain of deeply stored, highly efficient energy right around your waist. Even a relatively lean modern human carries enough stored body fat to walk for dozens of miles under the hot sun without needing a single bite. Your fat reserves are not a useless burden. They are a massive, untapped battery pack designed specifically to keep your heart beating through endless famine. The tragedy is that by constantly trickle-feeding your system 3 large meals every single day, you never let that ancient survival battery turn on. Your body has literally forgotten how to burn its own stored fat. It relies entirely on the quick, cheap sugar you keep pouring into your mouth. So when blood sugar slightly drops, your brain panics. It fires off emergency signals, tricking you into thinking you are starving when you absolutely are not. It is like driving a powerful, heavy-duty survival vehicle with a completely full tank of fuel, yet panicking wildly just because the cup holder is empty. To break free from this matrix, you must realize that the panic is a learned behavior. It is a manufactured dependency on constant, relentless feeding. The modern food industry profits immensely from keeping you trapped in this exhausting cycle of grazing, constantly spiking your blood sugar just to crash again. But what happens if you actively ignore the clock? What if you bravely push through that initial, agonizing wave of hangry panic gripping your stomach? If you endure that sharp discomfort, something incredible awakens deep inside your cells. The desperate emergency sirens in your brain finally power down and shut off. Your body realizes no external sugar is coming, so it reaches directly into that massive, glowing survival battery strapped securely around your waistline. For the first time in years, your metabolic engine violently shifts gears. It stops burning cheap modern sugar and starts incinerating your stored ancient fat. As this rich fuel floods your system, the physical trembling completely stops. The heavy mental fog lifts, and you experience a profound, primitive mental clarity. This is the exact hyper-focused state your ancestors entered when their stomachs were empty. Temporary starvation did not make them weak. It made them absolutely deadly. Evolution simply could not afford a brain that gets tired and confused when hungry. If you got sleepy when starving, your entire species would have died out. Instead, an empty stomach triggers a calculated release of adrenaline, sharpening your vision and heightening your senses to relentlessly track down the next vital kill. Today, people call this state intermittent fasting. They package it and treat it like a trendy, elite, modern biohack discovered by Silicon Valley billionaires. But it is absolutely not a modern hack. It is literally just the baseline default setting of the human operating system, functioning exactly as perfectly designed. By extending the dark, empty hours between meals, you are not starving yourself. You are giving your overworked digestive tract the long rest it has been begging for. In this quiet fasting window, your cells finally begin to scour and clean out accumulated metabolic trash, repairing the profound damage caused by constant, endless digestion. You step completely out of the industrial 3-meal matrix, taking back total control of your biology from the corporate factory whistle and the deceptive supermarket aisle. However, breaking free is incredibly difficult because modern society has successfully engineered a permanent artificial summer where the glorious harvest season simply never ends. For 300,000 years, every massive feast was naturally followed by a brutal famine. Your body is still desperately waiting for that winter. When that freezing winter never arrives, the ancient biological systems meant to save you begin to break down, rusting from constant, unrelenting metabolic overuse. Evolutionary biologists understand this through the principle of hormesis. Your body actually requires acute, temporary physical stress to trigger its deepest, most powerful cellular repair protocols. Just like a muscle quickly wastes away without the harsh resistance of gravity, your metabolism becomes completely fragile and sick without the sharp resistance of hunger. We have aggressively eliminated every single source of physical discomfort from our lives, replacing freezing winds and empty stomachs with climate control and delivery apps. But in our desperate quest to achieve absolute convenience, we accidentally turned off the very biological switches that keep our cells resilient and healthy. Every time you feel that stomach growl and consciously choose to wait, you are not torturing yourself. You are speaking an ancient genetic language. You are sending a powerful chemical signal deep into your DNA, confirming that the survival systems are still needed, keeping the internal fires burning. The modern medical establishment often treats obesity and metabolic disease as isolated failures of individual willpower, hastily prescribing pills to fix a fundamental evolutionary mismatch. But you cannot medicate away 300,000 years of perfectly tuned survival programming. You have to learn how to actively work alongside it. This means occasionally embracing the cold. It means allowing yourself to feel genuine physical hunger instead of panicking at the first sign of emptiness. It means looking at a plate of hyper-processed food and recognizing it not as a reward, but as a neurological trap designed to exploit you. Your resilient ancestors survived terrifying predators, continent-crushing ice ages, without ever needing a single calorie tracker, complex diet plan, or rigid corporate eating schedule. They survived because they listened to the profound, chaotic rhythms of the natural world, allowing the brutal cycle of feast and famine to forge their strength. So the next time your stomach growls exactly at noon, do not panic and blindly rush to the nearest vending machine to stuff yourself. Understand that this sharp, agonizing pang is absolutely not a weakness. It is a powerful echo of the greatest biological survival engine ever built. You are walking around with a prehistoric masterpiece inside your chest, a system perfectly engineered to endure the most brutal, freezing conditions on Earth. The modern world desperately tries to tame this wild engine, constantly suffocating it with cheap calories and forcing it into a rigid cage of time. But your DNA fiercely remembers the wild. It still remembers the exhausting, thrilling chase, the massive, roaring fires, and the deep, silent, starving nights. Choosing to wait to eat is not some trendy modern biohack. It is a profound, respectful reunion with your own deeply buried biological heritage. It is giving your overworked body the permission to finally heal, sweeping away the toxic damage caused by a modern world of endless abundance. We have aggressively engineered a comfortable modern reality where the freezing winter never comes, and the glorious, overflowing harvest season simply never ever ends. But true resilience is found when you occasionally step back into the cold, allowing that ancient, primitive fire inside you to violently ignite once more. You are not fundamentally broken. Your body is fiercely remembering a brutal, beautiful past where only the absolute strongest and most resilient humans survived. From ape to legend. That is the epic story of every human alive today, written deep into the very fat and bone of your body. Uncovering these buried ancestral secrets is exactly what we do here every single week. Subscribe to Ape to Legend and stay on the journey. Let modern society keep its rigid schedules, its artificial alarms, and its corporate factory whistles, hopelessly trying to dictate exactly when you should feel hungry. Morning, noon, and night, your stomach might still twist and loudly demand food exactly on time, just like a perfectly programmed modern clock. But now you know the truth. You are not a fragile clock. You are an ancient, starving apex survivor, and you finally control the time.